We drown each other is myself, yourself, I die in the water. We drown each other. This is very untypical of Siouan. The opocausative enclitic is postposed way, inflected for both subject and object. However, in certain verbs like to know versus to teach, the causative appears to be fossilized or frozen, and the entire construct can be conjugated. You have some examples there, but you also have one counterexample where the causative is conjugated. That Swanton translates you teach me, it actually means he or she teaches you. The active-stative verb distinction prevalent in most Siouan languages is not obvious in âThe, if it exists at all. The differences in verb conjugation we find are not sensitive to this split. Biloxi, a neighboring Siouan language spoken in the southern part of this state, similarly lacks an active-stative split, so this may be a subgroup feature within Siouan, or it may have developed independently in each of these two languages. Numerous semantically stative verbs have already been illustrated on the handout here, but they occurred in my examples with regular active pronoun prefixes. These included to be satisfied, be drowned, be stingy, be cold, and stink. One might expect them to be stative. They're not treated that way. On the other hand, sweat, bite, and hear, H-E-A-R, have an irregular second person form that looks as though it might reflect a patient pronominal gene. This is the best trace of the stative verb conjugation I found in the âThe data. The first person form of sweat, however, in this same conjugation, turns out to have the regular active prefix. So we're still up in the air on active stative. There are a few examples of dative or benefactive constructions. Number 17 on the handout. But there don't seem to be a lot of ditransitive verbs. There's nothing but give, so we can't really test for indirect objects very readily. âThe instrumental prefixes, most of the instrumentals found across Siouan are well attested in âThe. They include those under number 18 on the handout, by extreme of temperature, heat or cold, by pulling by hand, mouth, pushing, foot, striking, pressure, blowing, or shooting. The negative enclitic in âThe is ni. It is postposed, the element being negated, normally a predicate, number 19 on the handout. In a few instances, a preposed particle ki also seems to be associated with negation. So you have a situation of kind of circumfixal negation like French ne and pas, although I wouldn't claim influence of French here. The speakers, of course, also spoke French. The last three examples seem to show that the key, the preposed part, is optional in some instances, so that too parallels French to a certain extent. I'm going to omit the other section, rest of the lexical negation here and move on to tense aspect and mode quickly. Tense is not an inflectional category in Siouan morphologies generally, and âThe seems to be no exception. Swanton translates verb forms as present or past as context dictates, and this is the way Siouan languages work. However, the verb go is listed 3 separate times with an enclitic and glossed went, number 20A on the handout. This morphology does not occur elsewhere where past tense is glossed, and the enclitic is tani or toni, and it precedes pluralizing do. It's almost certainly a reflex of the common Siouan verb âonder, to do or be. As such, it's probably a perfective or imperfective marker, as it is variably in other Siouan languages, and not really past tense morphology at all. In other words, it's kind of auxiliary did or was construction. The same enclitic is also used in what Swanton translates as conditional mode in a single example. He apparently elicited a conditional, and what he got was this example here. If he goes, I will come. But here an aspectual translation, or rather than a conditional one, in line with the perfective examples that I just discussed with go, makes just as good a sense. So you could translate this sentence, he having gone, I will come. No further analysis of conditionals is possible. There's not anymore. Ofo verbs with the suffix âve are translated as futures by Swanton. Since other tenses are not generally marked, âve may best be thought of as an expression of Irrealis mode, as in most other Siouan languages. This is 20b on the handout. There are a number of examples of this. As in many Siouan languages, reflexes of the Proto-Siouan positional verb nanke, to be sitting, are used aspectually to mark continuative aspect. This is 20c on the handout. The auxiliary, nonki, is not inflected for person or number when it functions to mark aspect. So nonki has definitely been grammaticalized here as an enclitic. Contrast this usage with the inflected form of the same verb, nonki, showing up as anonki, when it means to dwell, the main verb in the clause, as in the sentence, I have dwelt here, I have lived here for a long time. Iterative aspect seems to be inflected by reduplication. And you have examples of that. At this point, it seems possible to reconstruct a fairly complete Ofo verb template. Here you can look at your handout. This is as good as it gets because such templates are inherently inaccurate in Siouan, where the locative prefixes and certain other elements can be used recursively to derive new stems. Skipping to the very end, Ofo word order, number 23 on the handout. We don't have much in the way of real syntactic information, but piecing things together as we can for a typological statement, we can say that verbs are consistently clause final, numerous examples. Like other Siouan languages, Ofo has some postpositions and no prepositions. Auxiliary verbs follow main verbs. Deictics and possessive precede the nouns they modify, and these are the only real noun modifiers. Other apparent noun modifiers follow the nouns they modify, but since we lack a class of adjectives, this function is filled by stative verbs, which always follow nouns. Adverbs and deictics used as adverbials precede the verb. WH words do not necessarily come in sentence initial position. Subordinate clauses apparently precede main clauses, and co-subordination in the form of a few serial verb instances occur. Although it's based on relatively few examples, none of this sort of typology, none of these observations is really surprising, since Siouan languages are uniformly OV, that is, dependent head languages, and Ofo word order is fully congruent with that typology. Verification, of course, depends not on typology, but on the comparative method, to the extent that method can be applied to syntax. In the case of Siouan languages, the two methods yield similar results, but if results differ, it's the comparative method that needs to be respected. Thank you.